Okay, thank you, everybody, and sorry about all the confusion. So I guess I'll call the meeting to order. And even though I don't have a flag in my home, I would like to do a pledge of allegiance before roll call. So
There we go. Okay.
everybody, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Start with the roll call. Mr. Diana?
I'm here. Yes.
Okay, Mr. DeSalvo?
Present.
Mr. Brescia?
Here.
Okay, Mr. Gatos? Absent?
He's
Okay.
muted. He's here.
He's here.
Okay, he's here. Mr. Scrabice?
Here.
Okay. Mr. McCary?
He's also here, but on mute.
Yeah, he's here, but he's muted. I see. Okay. And then we have Lori Biasuso, Vince Casalino, Melanie Shoughton, Kevin Dowd, the attorney. Is Russ with us?
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Okay. Hi, Russ. And Joel Kleiman, the Chief Financial Officer. So first order of business is the approval of the minutes. And the first one up of that is the February 13th board meeting minutes. So if there are no comments or questions,
So moved.
entertain
Second.
to approve. Okay, are we good?
Yes.
Oh, all right, I didn't hear. Okay. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, good. So next up would be the audit committee minutes of the same date, February 13th, 2020. So I'll entertain a motion unless there's any questions or comments. I'll entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, thank you. Then next up is the governance committee minutes from February 13th also. Excuse me. Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes as presented.
So moved.
Thank you. Second, thank you. There were no questions or comments. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. And then the meeting of March 27th, the audit committee meeting, which met on by a conference on March 27th. So, yeah, go ahead, Lori.
We reviewed those minutes and there was one error in that. It was legislator instead of legislature. And we also wanted to revise the language about the discussion of the timing on the submission of the Paris report. So would you like to adopt them in lieu of those changes or have us change those and then have them resubmitted next month for approval?
I will defer to Mr. DeSalvo, who's the chairman of the audit committee. Your thoughts?
I'm sorry, say that again.
When I reviewed the minutes the other day, I had some questions about the first paragraph because if you recall, we spent quite a lot of time talking about the submission of the Paris report for 2019.
Right.
And necessary corrections. So when I talked to Lori, my thought was that they should expand that discussion a little bit because it's really not in the minutes, and especially since the meeting was recorded, and just to get some clarity about what our issues were as well.
Yeah, I would concur with that. I know we did talk a little bit more, a lot about it, so we probably need to at least have visualized that in the minutes.
Yeah, so do you want them to resubmit? I think it would be a good idea to resubmit them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yes.
thank you.
You can table them
Thanks
for
for
next
bringing that
month.
up, Lori.
Tabled.
All right, so if that's the case, then we will table these, I guess. Kevin, is that the proper thing to do?
Correct, yes, till next month, so you can bring it back corrected.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, financial reports and requests for payments, Joel?
Yes, if everyone could refer to the packet that Melanie sent out. There are two things we need to do. We need to approve the March board packet and payments. I'm going to forego going over the board packet financial statements because we're going to do for an updated financials for this month. What we want to do is approve the revised IDA voucher sheet. This was approved by the audit committee last month. It totaled $1,399,920.69. And the reason why the voucher for the March meeting was so high was because we did a combination of a first and second payment to fund the accelerator. So that was 99% of what that voucher was for. So
Okay.
again, we need we'll ultimately have to have the entire board approve that. If you
Right.
Joel, just one second. I'm just to
Sure.
break it here. So Melanie right now is going to pull up what Joel's talking about so that everyone.
Oh,
can-
yeah, she sent that to us, right?
Yeah, so she's going to
Okay.
pull that up and share her screen so that everyone can view it at the same time. So we're all on
Okay,
literally
yeah.
one page.
All right, thanks.
Just before we vote, we'll have to go back to this to make sure everyone's faces are visible.
Okay,
Just while she finds that, I just want to give her that chance.
The next document is the financial reports for this meeting. The first page is the IDA. It's a summary of the bank accounts, certificate of deposit, money market accounts as of March 31st. And the balance as of March 31st was $6,944,043. The second page is the income and expense summary for the IDA. We have income year-to-date of $111,961 and total expenses of $369,127. And again, 90% of that plus is the payments for the Warwick Valley Shovel Ready project. I just want to bring everyone up to date on those payments. We have, bear with me. For the two, we had two tranches, if you want to put it that way. We had a $1.5 million and the $500,000. Of the $1.5 million, with approval of today's bill, we will have exhausted the entire $1.5 million. You do not have a copy of this. I just want to make you aware, so don't, looking for that, you're not going to find it. For the $500,000, the second portion, which is specifically for the lab building, we have spent $474,410.04, again, pending approval today, and we'll have a balance of $25,589.96. So I just want, and that'll be, I'm assuming that'll be paid out by next month's meeting. The next
Okay.
page is the income and expense summary through the end of March for the accelerator. We had total income of $55,377 and expenses of $574,054. And the last page would be the April vouchers, funds received and vouchers approved. We received a closing fee from GAM Property Corp of $46,801.75. And we have total vouchers be approved of $269,894.32. If you'll notice on the left-hand side, the payments for Warwick Valley LDC Shovel Ready programs, both projects, they have asterisks. Those were approved earlier this month by the audit committee, and those checks were already issued. But again, we're looking for approval for all the payments, ones that were released and also ones that are still pending to be released. Is there any questions?
I don't have any questions. Anybody else? Okay. So are you done, Joel?
Yes, I am.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, the annual financial report from JGS.
You need a motion to approve those.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So moved.
Second.
It's a little hard for my kitchen, you know. So since there's no questions about the financial report and request for payments, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. And thank
Sorry,
you.
are we approving March and April together, or do we need to approve those separate?
I would say since they're being presented in April, we could do them together. Yes?
Okay,
Sure.
okay. Just
Yeah,
being
because they're
sure.
part of this presentation, so. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, now JGS Annual Financial Report. So who's doing that?
Marty, if you can unmute Rob and RJ, please.
Sorry, Marty's also trying to get Gatos back in. He got knocked out, so.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob Unger from JGS.
Hey, Rob.
Hi, Rob.
Also on the phone is RJ.
Hey, RJ.
Hi.
All right.
So go ahead. It's that time of the year.
Okay. So presenting our 2019 audited financial statements, we're happy to report that we issued what's known as an unmodified or clean opinion. Revenue for the year was approximately $393,000. Expenses were approximately $3,312,000, of which $892,000 was spent on projects. Our fund balance at the end of the year had $1,940,000 as designated and $9,548,000 as undesignated.
Okay. You still there?
Yep, still here. That pretty much wraps up the audit for 2019.
Okay, that's in a very highly summarized fashion.
Can you actually, Rob, you and RJ, can you speak a little bit to the, now I can't think of the numbers. It's like a $2 million item for
Long-term receivable?
Yes, the long-term
Yes.
receivable. Thank you. Could you talk about that a little bit and give a broad explanation, or give not even a broad explanation, give an explanation about that receivable, why it's present and what it entails?
Yep. Rob, I'll take this.
Yeah, go ahead, RJ, sure.
Okay, so because of some of the large projects that the IDA does, some of the closing fees are well north of several hundred thousand, if not into the $1 million range. So agreements are set up with some of these projects to pay us the closing fee over a period of time. Because of that, what we would effectively collect in the next 12 months is considered current. So if you're looking at the detailed balance sheet on page 6, you'll see that number is about $913,000. That's what we expect to collect at some point in 2020. In the other asset section is the long-term portion, which is roughly $2.1 million. Those are items that we plan to collect in 2021 and after. Part of that number is, in fact, the $1.5 million the IDA put up for the Warwick Accelerator development. The Warwick Valley Local Development Corporation applied for a grant from New York State, which is aiding in the development of this project, for which they'll receive 40% of what's spent. The IDA will actually receive dollar for dollar what they've invested up to that $1.5 million. So as Joel noted, we didn't expend all the 1.5 by the end of the year, but it was pretty close. It was about 1.49. So very close. So that's the amount that's in the accounts receivable long-term. Other portions in there are final payments from Merlin Entertainment, as well as what we've been collecting from SUNY Orange over a period of time.
Okay, and then the loss or the change in
it's not considered income because we had spent the cash, and so we had effectively a reduction in our. Sagira, and a pleasure to work with the IDA management.
Okay, well, thank you. We appreciate that. The one thing I would like to note for the record is that I think this is the first time that all of the tax exempt bond people reported in. Is that correct?
Everybody.
Yeah, that's the first time since I've been on the board. So kudos for that.
Absolutely. Also, just so you know, as a reminder, the audit committee on March 27th recommended this for approval. So we do still need full board approval, but it was recommended for approval by audit.
Okay, duly noted, thank you. Okay, anybody have any other further questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the annual financial audit from JGS.
So moved. So moved.
Okay, we'll call that a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Okay, great, thank you. Annual report / Paris approval.
To jump in, just so you guys know, Mike is still trying to come in, so just FYI.
Okay.
That kicked out, so Marty's working on that.
So the annual report and the Paris approval.
Yes, so Joel?
Yeah, so the Paris report is actually made up of 4 separate components that were due to the AB to New York State as of March 31st. Now they has since prior to that, the New York State has extended the deadline for submitting that. We were able to submit 3 out of the 4 individual reports prior to March 31st. And I had reached out to the ABO to come to a conclusion on the reconciliation of the conduit debt. And they were able to supply the IDA with a reconciliation and a final numbers for conduit debt for year ending 2017, 18, and 19. So this should bring to conclusion the reconciliation issue that we've been working through for the past year. So what the ABO had requested is they submitted, and I believe it's included in the packet, the schedule of what they would like us to adopt, and they requested that the entire board approve those figures that they had supplied us on the schedule. And once we're able to supply them the resolution, they will then endeavor either through the controller's office or themselves to be able to put those numbers into the system going back again to year ending 17, 18, and 19. Once that's done, then I can file, I could resubmit for 2018, one part of the 4 reports, and then I could at that point conclude for 2019 and file for that one last report for the IDA in 2019.
Okay, and then once that's done, we'll be all up to date and everything will be kosher, yes?
That is correct.
Okay, good. All right, good job, Joel. I know it was a lot of work for you. Anybody have any questions about that?
So there is a resolution I prepared, Mary Ellen. I don't know if you want to continue the same process we always do.
Yeah, that would be fine. So we need to do a resolution authorizing the, oh no, that's not the retention, but for accepting the changes. Yeah, I got to find the right piece of paper.
A resolution approving the correction of conduit debt balances for the year 2017, 2018, and 2019 previously reported in the Public Authorities Reporting Information System, or PARIS.
All right, thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. I need a second. Thank you. You have to take a roll call. Yes, thank you.
Mr. Schreibeis.
Yes.
Mr. Gatos.
He's still trying to get back in.
Okay, Mr. Diana.
Yes.
Mr. Brescia.
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo.
Yes.
Mr. McCary.
John's still muted.
Oh, I see. He's muted. Yeah.
Yeah.
John, can you unmute?
Just hit the left side of the screen, John. Hit the left side of your picture, John.
Just hit the little icon.
The little microphone.
Maybe I can do it from here.
Marty, can you unmute him by chance?
No. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear.
There we go. Okay, John.
Okay.
So, Mr. McCary, aye or nay?
Yes.
Chairwoman Rogalski.
Yes.
Is Mr. Gatos on yet?
No.
Okay, so We'll put him as a blank. So you still have 6 ayes, so it would still be adopted.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so then the next thing we have, well, we just did that, the UHY LLP resolution.
I'm sorry, Mary Ellen, before we move on to that, we skipped over the IBM audit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, so we did.
We just, since we still have RJ and Rob on the phone here, I figured we could.
Yeah, no, definitely, I'm sorry.
Okay. So as the board remembers, we've gone through a multi-year process where we've audited IBM for, our agreement with them and their fee that they pay to us based on the number of employees. So Rob, RJ, if you want to just kind of explain this last audit, the years that it covered, and then the thesis of it.
Absolutely, yep. So the final audit that we did encompasses 4 years, starting June 1, 2013 and ending May 31st, 2017. As you're all aware, we've had some various ups and downs over the years working with IBM and the multiple staff people that had been assigned to this project. So it's been speedy in some years and extremely slow in others, but ultimately we've concluded the years that we've been engaged to do. We ended up with a balance owed to IBM as they had paid well in excess of the fees that they should have paid. This was a error on their part with regard to the amount of purchases that were applicable to the fee calculation. That number is approximately $570,000, and the IDA management as well as IBM have had communications. I've been kind of tied in a little bit with that, but we pretty much come to an agreement where we can work this balance down over the coming years so that we don't have to expend any dollars on a go-forward basis with them. So.
To that point, I'll just add that I did speak with Wayne and he spoke with his tax department at IBM. Obviously, the audit committee knows this already, but they agreed to take that amount as sort of a credit. So the fee that they would pay us this year, if it is more than that, we would carry that credit over in, or if it's more than that, we would get the balance. If it's less than the 570, we would carry that over into next year as a credit against that payment as well. And the audit committee was amenable to that.
Okay, so have we identified how to make that not happen anymore?
So what we had the last time we spoke through this, actually the last time IBM had their sales tax package came up for renewal, we corrected the language in the agreement to solidify basically how the employees are.
Right.
In terms of an audit, we don't have any plans to continue to audit. I think that working with Wayne Spinay at IBM, we've been able to come to an agreement of how it should be calculated. And of course, they give us a spreadsheet every year of how it works. We've monitored them over the last few years, and it seems like we've finally found a place with the language that makes it work for everyone. So
okay.
That's been the correction.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you. Sorry, I skipped over you guys.
No
problem. Questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the IBM audit report.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, you're approved. Thank you. Thank you, JGS.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take it easy. Okay, now we have the UHY LLP resolution.
Okay, so this is the new name of the bookkeeping firm that we use and have been using. So, resolution authorizing the retention of UHY LLP, formerly PKHB CPA/CPC, to provide general bookkeeping services to the IDA.
Okay, and this is just needed to change the name?
Right.
Okay.
For the year 2020.
Okay, because it's just housekeeping then.
So it's
Okay,
actually
good.
effective as of January 1st of this year.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Anyone have any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to, oh, you have to, I'm sorry, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the retention of UHY LLP.
So moved.
Thank you. Second, thank you. All those in favor, please say, oh, no, you have to
Sure.
do your roll call.
Mr. Schreibeis.
Yes.
Mr. Gatos.
Any minute now.
Mr. Diana.
Yes.
Mr. Brescia.
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo,
Yes.
Mr. McCary,
Yes.
Chairwoman Rogowski.
Yes.
All right, you have 6 ayes and 1 absent. I get to, by technical difficulty.
Yeah. Right.
So the resolution is adopted.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next up is new and unfinished business. We'll start with the chairman's report, which is nothing. Thank you very much, staff, for this exercise. I'm sure it was not easy. Then we'll go to the chief executive officer report.
Thank you. So just to close on the Paris, so we have, once, as Joel mentioned, once the numbers are solidified with the ABO as ERC, we'll be submit 2019's audit. I will say that even though the deadline was changed, if it weren't for this one little item, we would have been in a position to submit our Paris report on the 31st. So I'm glad, everybody really came together to get that done well in advance of the deadline. We have been working, we being Melanie and Kevin, Vinny and myself, on revising all of the IDA policies, labor policy included. That was sort of slated for this month, but with the COVID crisis and these, sort of IT meeting, I think that it would be better to something that we could discuss in person. Excuse me. So we'll be doing that in May. We did have a few closings. GAM Property Group closed this month. There's I'm going to come back to this one. There we had 2 projects, the Simone Development Realty and Airport Properties, both at Stewart Airport, the 2 hotels. As a reminder, in our policies, in our resolutions, we have an expiration date on our approvals. So with no momentum on a project after a year, we reach back out to the project and have them give us an update. Those are in your packets. So because they've touched base with us, it's essentially a Port Authority issue that's preventing them from moving forward. And then of course, now with the COVID crisis, who knows? But that being said, their approvals will continue to extend as we work with them to move forward with their projects. There was a New York State EDC, Economic Development Council, IDA Academy scheduled for April, which most board members were going to attend. Unfortunately, that was postponed because of the COVID crisis. So we'll keep the board apprised of when that comes back. The IDA agents, a lot of these things that are happening within the office right now are reactions to the COVID issue. So one of the things is that some IDA agents are retooling what their plans were for 2020 to focus on recovery efforts. So we have like WEDC, the Women's Enterprise Development Center, who typically does our minority and women and minority-owned business certifications and entrepreneurship classes, as well as the Youth Bureau, are working together to create COVID-19 workshops to benefit the community. In addition, we've received a few FOIL requests. Any FOIL requests that we can turn around, if that is if it's digitized, we are processing those as we would normally process them, but we did receive one for minutes from 2002 to 2006, which are in storage, and with this mandatory work from home order, we are unable to comply with that at this moment, but as soon as the executive order is lifted, we will go ahead and complete those and provide them. We have 2.
Are you allowed, Lori, are you allowed to say where that came from, that FOIL?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the packet, I think, right?
Is it? I didn't see it.
It is in the packet.
I
Yes.
am there.
Do you remember, Melanie, just because I just don't remember where it is in the packet, who the name of the firm?
So the Zoglin Group?
Sorry, what was it, Mary Ellen?
Zoglin Group?
No, it was.
No, not Zoglin. I know the name of the gentleman.
Yeah, it was Grindstone Research, Matt Brickett.
Yes.
Where is that
Out of
gentleman?
Lexington, Kentucky.
Oh, wow. We had an audit FOIL recently in the village of Montgomery from the same gentleman from Lexington, Kentucky. That's just such coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence.
No, it's not a coincidence. Trust me.
Yeah.
So,
What kind of organization is it, do you know?
Yeah, the village of Montgomery is probably a little bit more extensive. It goes back about 25 years, I would say.
Wow.
My God.
I wonder if there's any agencies in Kentucky we could foil. I don't know any.
It's only 3 hours from where I went to college. That's coincidental too, I guess. But
yeah. Do you know what that organization does? Is it just, what do they do?
They do research for political organizations and political candidates.
Okay.
Now we know.
Okay.
Now we know. Now we know.
Oh, look, there's the baby.
Okay, so I see Mike is with us now, by the way, just so everybody knows. He's on the phone, but he's here. Yay, we got him.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I couldn't get back in.
Strong security, Mike. Sorry.
I'm good.
Michael, you said if you could do it, everybody could do it. What happened?
That's what I was gonna say. You spoke too
Marty,
soon, Mike.
Marty
I
locked
told
me
you.
out. Marty don't like me no more.
Don't mess with Marty.
Yeah.
Don't mess with Marty. Yeah.
So 2 other things. Kevin, if you could just really quickly talk about the mechanics lien, USAI, BDL, that we were notified about.
Yeah, we have a mechanics lien filed on the USI, or also known as BBO.
BDL.
A contractor about a month or so ago, and they're represented by the Jacobowitz firm. I spoke to the plaintiff's counsel and I spoke to Jerry Jacobowitz. They were trying to work out the deal to get this thing off the table and to resolve it, or at least to drop the Orange County IDA out of the lawsuit, because it's after they filed the lien after our lease and leaseback agreement were filed, and so.
Oh God. Okay.
In any event, to me, they sound like they're miles apart as far as the amounts of money that are due and owing, supposedly, as opposed to what they say is due and owing. So this is still going back and forth between those 2 counsel, and pretty much everything in the courts is stopped anyway. So I don't think there's really an urgent reason for us to have to go to court on this thing. But we'll see. I'm going to keep in touch with Jerry, and I'll keep in touch with the plaintiff's counsel and try to get us out of this, and hopefully they resolve it. It's technically an event of default for having a mechanics lien filed.
Right.
And this has been going on for the last couple of years that they can't work it out. So Jerry knows that, and he is trying to work with the plaintiff's counsel to resolve the matter. So I'll keep you informed.
Thanks, Kevin. The other one is that we had Sentinel Realty was submitted their paperwork that's the assisted living facility in Deer Park. They submitted their paperwork and indicated that they utilized their sales tax exemption. I'm not sure that was accurate, but Kevin had sent a letter to confirm that they're not using an expired sales tax exemption. But because this is one of now 2 sales tax exemptions that might have been used after its expiration date, one of the other things we've asked Kelly to do in her work with Loki Brill, because she's really the interface to Loki Brill, is that she's going to work with them to implement or to bring in sales tax exemption expiration monitoring into our labor policy monitoring as well, just to make sure that we don't have any issues where people are bumping up against it, so that at least, that's one more element of protection, both for ourselves and for our projects, to ensure that everybody's working within the same framework.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. 2 last things. One is, I'm sure you read it already, but I did get a call from Legoland before they made the announcement publicly, but they have officially delayed their opening till 2021. We haven't had any discussions with them about, amending their agreements with us, but, I wouldn't be surprised if that came about. But up until then, things are as they were before, but it's just that it's going to be delayed a year. And then lastly, we've been approached by some solar companies, and typically the IDA hasn't had a lot of interest in implementing solar pilots, just because we've kind of let it go to the town or the school board directly. And because we've gotten more interested and we have a mature one that was looking to us, we asked Russ Genzel to give us a draft of a potential solar policy, so that if in the future companies come to us seeking solar incentives, we would have, some framework. So Russ, can you explain just the sort of, 50,000 foot view of what the policy looks like?
Sure. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so Lori, Vinny, Kevin, and I had conversations with Kevin McAuliffe. I think we've all met before, who represents a number of solar projects, a few of which are potentially in Orange County. And IDAs across the state have been doing solar projects for a number of reasons. The push for alternative energy, the unique nature of these facilities make them very difficult for assessors to figure out their value. The confusion surrounding real property tax law, section 487,
The short of it, what it does is it gives the taxing jurisdictions surety as to pilot payments for whatever period of years is agreed upon, as well as the developer without having to figure out how to value these unique facilities. Typically, the per megawatt charge, and that ranges from area. And I think we'd have to do a little bit more thorough analysis as to where Orange County would like to be. But as I said, this is a growing trend across the state, and the policy that I shared as a starting point came from Tompkins County, which has done a number of transactions. So it's preliminary at this point. I'm not sure how fast the projects in Orange County want to move. But I can tell you, in working with Kevin in the past, they usually are real when he brings them to the doorstep.
We had also, Vinny and I had a preliminary conversation with John McCary. So I don't know, John, if you wanted to talk about, you had mentioned that this is something that you were interested in the IDA and taking a look at.
I think it is a smart move on the county, Orange County IDA, to move in this direction. In Orange County, we have over 50 solar projects right now, and we probably have pilot agreements or agreement payment in lieu of taxes on probably 20, 25 of them. And it's been very cumbersome because you got a school district, you got local towns, and then you got the county involved. Our policy and policy of many assessors across the county is a minimum of $10,000 per megawatt and $5,000 per megawatt on battery backup. So this is something what we really should look into and come up with a uniform policy, which will help many of those local towns out with their projects.
Great.
Hey, Laura.
Yep.
You there? So on these solar farms, a lot of towns are putting restrictions on them now, aren't they?
Yes.
Right. And the trouble I think we might have with them is they're going to bring their people from it. They're going to say this is a specialty item no matter what. They're not going to have no local labor on it.
Right.
We actually talked to them about that, Mike. Sorry, Lori.
No, go ahead.
Because I've done enough solar farms. The structural steel is structural steel. The panel's a panel. The wiring is wiring. Everybody around here that have done them, it's not a specialty item, but I can see this clearly being a problem.
Yeah, so we discussed that.
For local labor.
Yeah, we discussed that with them. We also thought, that Newburgh Metals, for example, does solar racking, but they don't do it for this size farm, for example. So we tried to connect them with local sources. They're open-minded to that. We'd have to think about this a different way. Maybe getting people in the supply chain involved.
I think they might be open-minded now, but I think it's going to be a problem. But we got to discuss it, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there will not be local labor for the install. I can tell you, you are absolutely right about that. So if we want,
I don't see why we'd even entertain it then.
Yeah, that's a problem. Is the purpose? Is the reason that the IDAs support these things is to provide a stable way to do the valuation rather than a financial incentive? Because these companies do not need an incentive to build them. They're very profitable. They're profitable to the owners. They don't create jobs. So yeah. I don't understand. I'm not clear on what benefit there would be to us even doing it.
I agree. That was why we had sort of kept away from them in the past. But, John's experience, I think, here will be probably the most valuable to the whole board, because a lot of school districts, towns, and even the county have issues with, having some sort of uniformity in how they're billing, how they're charging and collecting, not knowing who gets the benefit of the agreement, the host community agreement. There's a lot of cooks in that kitchen, and typically the IDAs who take a position in these or offer the incentives are just the conduit. They've kind of codified the things that the local municipalities have agreed to.
Okay.
Allow that kind
Mary Ellen, I'd like to say something or piggyback if I could.
Sure.
Was Lori done? I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, Mike has good points, and less and less we're seeing return on investment for the local municipalities on these solar fields. I know the county had a problem with their project at the 911 center. Kevin will attest to me. For the village of Montgomery, we spent 4 years, and we even cleared some of the land down by our water sewer treatment plant, close to 3.5, 4 acres, and now we're kind of going to abandon it because there's not really no return or incentive for the village of Montgomery to proceed with it. I know Vinny's got a lot of experience with solar fields, but if they're not going to use local labor, open and close shop, to the tune of 85% or more, I don't even think we should entertain it because it's not advantageous to us if that's the case. So
I think it would be a good service.
My comments would be, a lot of towns don't want solar fields. So why would we encourage it?
Right.
Yeah, I know the town of Wallkill, it was advantageous. I talked to Louis and Gracia. This was before you became supervisor, but and it worked out for them very well, I think. But less and less.
Yeah, but I'm saying we have other ones in that town, Steve, that we made separate deals for them and all. But the town is really, they put a lot of restrictions on solar fields. So because a lot of towns, they're very unsightly and people don't like the way they look. So I think it's very controversial. I just do.
Yeah, I mean, my neighbor, he's in Modena there on the corner. He has a solar business, and I mean, these companies want to sub it to a local guy. I'm not saying union. I mean, I'm union, but I've done enough of them. But they want to sub into a local installer and use their people. That would be an avenue to look at. But like you said, Eddie, and like I said, a lot of townships don't want it. So there's a lot to look at.
Right.
True.
Yeah, I think we have to look at it a lot more.
Of course. This was
before
meant
we start to do things.
a preliminary conversation about it, just to make sure that the full board was aware that we had been approached with it. I think that, to John's point, when it is a town, a county, and a school district or a village who've all agreed to a set of circumstances, if that's something that everybody wants to move forward with, and then we can help them through that transition and not make it so confusing to the assessors and the billing departments of all of those municipalities or jurisdictions, I think that could be helpful. Obviously, the labor policy side of it is something that we would have to address. Something that we're hearing, throughout the state, a lot of IDAs are kind of the head on the horse of solar farms or alternative energy, whatever it is, whether it's wind or solar. But a lot of ideas, because of the push in the national sphere and also, of course, within the state to make the transition to a cleaner energy model. So it's something that certainly not a done deal, and it's nothing that we've agreed to, but I wanted to make sure that I put it out there for the full board. And then as we can discuss it further and then perhaps make revisions to the, draft bullet pointed policy that Russ provided already, and then come to something that's comfortable or not, but, didn't want to have a surprise when we got an application for it and then not prepared to be able to react.
Well, I think that, if it is intended to be a conduit to make the collection of taxes easier for the municipalities and to have more consistent valuations, there might be some value we could add there without it being an incentive.
Right.
I personally am not in favor of giving incentives to solar farms, and particularly given that, there is no provision, or, they'll try to not comply with the labor laws, because there are very few permanent jobs, if any. Once those things are installed, basically they're hooked to a computer and somebody has to read the language, read the numbers. But beyond that, there's very little maintenance. There's no need for anybody. It's not creating jobs, especially if they're not going to apply to the local labor. So, it's a lot to think about. But
can I say one other thing, please?
Sure.
Yeah. I think it is a benefit for local tax and districts. I don't see IDA giving any financial incentives to build them. Strictly, I see it as a source of possibly revenues for application fees and making a uniform policy for towns to make it easier for them to put together those solar projects.
Right. Yeah. Well, if that would make sense to me. So, all right. Thank you, John. Anybody else have any other questions or comments? Okay, none. So what's up next?
I just have one other thing to add is that, and Vinny's going to talk a lot about this, so I'm going to be very brief. But as everybody knows, with this COVID, all of the staff is working remotely. So we have everybody who is either one at a time coming in from mail or everybody working from home. We have, I would want to say, basically fully transitioned to a COVID recovery team at the IDA right now. I mean, certainly Vinny and I have had conversations with every single board member, every single person on this conference right now. We've had long conversations about what we're doing. So the IDA is already spending money to assist businesses in getting through this crisis and getting them through the other side. We've hosted webinars. Vinny's going to talk about that. And we have held by the hand a number of companies and walked them through the SBA processes, federal, state, local programs, anything that could possibly be of assistance to businesses that are trying to either stay on their feet or get back on their feet. It's been a lot of work and certainly a lot of effort because this is uncharted territory for everyone. So I first wanted to kind of make that note that everyone is remote. I'm not sure anybody's surprised by that, but also commend everybody on the IDA. The staff has worked really hard, and it's been weekends and nights trying to get everybody answered and making sure that everybody feels comfortable and knows that the IDA is a good resource for them. So I won't say much more than that because I know Vinny's whole entire accelerator report is COVID, but I commend everybody. And thank you so much to the board members for being so accessible to us in this time because there's a lot of moving parts and so many new pieces of information that we're dealing with every day. So thank you. And that'll be all I have.
Okay, thank you. And thank you guys for the efforts that you put in. It does not go unnoticed.
Thank you.
Okay, Vinny, you're going to do the accelerator report?
Yeah, Melanie, if you could put up the COVID-19 business outreach response.
She looks so serious.
Me? I am serious.
Melanie, you're
tired.
Muted.
Tired.
You're muted, Melanie.
She prefers
Get it there, Melanie?
Sorry, just give me 1 second.
Okay, I'm going to start talking.
Yeah, just start talking. It will be up in a minute.
So we have quite a team.
Nothing's changed.
We have quite a team working on this project. And the COVID-19 business outreach response team specifically to allow any Orange County company, Accelerator Without Walls, any company of any sort, contact us and allow us, if they want, walk them through the federal programs that they could apply for and then follow it all the way through. We don't just say, here's the program you can get. We actually work on it with them. We kicked it off with 200 companies participating in a small business webinar about the incentives on April 2nd. We're actually going to have a second one of these next Thursday, a week from today. And that will be a follow-up to the first one. So lessons learned, where do things stand? There have been some issues that have been identified, how we're working through those. And I'll tell you that the biggest issue at the moment has been the fact that our local banks, unless you have a certain kind of banking relationship and because of the amount of money associated with it, it's not a great deal for our local banks, even the big banks. So yesterday we created a letter under Lori's signature that we sent out to Schumer, Gillibrand, and Maloney. We copied Newhouse, Senator Skoufis, and Metzger, and identifying the issue. We did not put a solution in there, but we told them that this has to be resolved. So that's one of the issues right now. But the good news is 200 companies participate in the webinar. 80 of those 80 companies then, actually it's at 90 today. We're projecting it'll be 100 tomorrow. We're working with 80 companies, now 90, to help them apply for SBA programs under the CARES Act. And there's multiple flavors of that. I won't go into that, but we kicked that off on March 30th. The companies we're working with are from 1 to 70 employees. The 70 employees are like Orange Packaging and FPS Apparel. They're some of the bigger ones. We're working, there are about 25 of them are service and professional service companies. More companies are in that category than anywhere else, and then manufacturing next, then retail, construction, development, distribution. You have to remember the bigger companies likely have accounting firms and different kinds of banking relationships and lots of people to help them. They would not necessarily come to us, and that's fine. Most companies we're working with Oh, I should say, we also, every company we talk to becomes a potential future accelerator without walls company. Several of them we found, surprisingly, we're in the fashion or other manufacturing fields that align with our clusters. So we're making new connections, which is going to be good for everyone later. Most companies we're working with will get support from the SBA. We already have Orange Packaging was our pilot project. We put them in the day before the SBA program was turned live. So actually that Wednesday and Thursday, we wrote the application with them. Friday it went in and they received an award Saturday evening. So the process can work. We did have a little blip. Their usual bank was not supporting the program, but they did have a relationship with another bank that we were able to leverage. Well, we learned a lot off of that project. So, there's different flavors of these SBA awards. I'm not going to bore you with them. You can read all about them if you'd like. PPP and EIDL are right now the most popular ones. Also, as we're talking to these companies, we always take the opportunity to say, okay, good, we applied for this. Now, what do we have to do to shore you up, on the other side of this? What do we have to do? And we're getting a lot of feedback from companies. We talked to a large dry cleaner, and, for the sake of having a dryer, that could really turn his business around because he outsources all that drying. I'm not going to go into every one of these things, but we have a story for every one of them. And also along the way, we're, starting to lay the groundwork that should the OCFC be able to give loans, what would we actually loan it for? What are people asking for? And so we're getting feedback along the way. We can talk about that later. The biggest issues are the banks not being able to meet the marketplace demands. Since we wrote that letter, I guess, Lori, your signature is this powerful. Everybody, including the president, have been working on this problem. We actually got a response from Schumer and Gillibrand the same day that they have heard this from many of their constituents, and they wanted to formalize the fact that they're supportive and are trying to figure out what we could do to get this fixed. Okay, so that letter went out April 8th. That was yesterday. Our future plans, we're going to continue to walk companies through the application process and follow it up. And as again, I said, we put the application in, you have to have a bank. If the bank doesn't exist, we try to find them another one or find a way around the process. We don't like the accelerator model. We never, any obstacle we will try to remove to help these companies through it. And as I mentioned before, we've gotten calls from pizza places all the way up to much larger companies. We have a future webinar, the one next Thursday, where we'll bring people back. Whoever wants to come back, it's open to everybody. And we'll sponsor that again with our federal consultants. And then we'll connect these companies to accelerator services in the future on the rebound. I would tell you that the most requested possible funding avenue that the SBA loans do not take into account is the procurement of materials that certain kinds of companies, now Mary Ellen's going to think I'm talking about just manufacturing, but not really, but any company that has to purchase materials on the other end of this to get back up and running, the supply chain is very tight right now. So pricing is going to be higher, and likely companies are going to want cash. The material suppliers are likely going to want cash or something close to that. Payments very fast, perhaps being paid before they ship. So that's the thing that companies have been saying. Is there any way you can help us with that? Anticipating that. Now that's the bigger thinker companies that are talking to us about that. So that's I want to thank the entire team. We unfortunately, while we could stay at home, we've had to put a few people on the road for this, but much more so in when I go to the PPE thing next. This has kept our phones ringing 7 days a week. And I think it's so important that we react as quickly as we can. This last Saturday, there was quite a jump because the word got out that Orange Packaging had received their award. Had received their commitment of an award. And so many companies that were not shy to use the process, but were naysayers that this could actually work. Orange Packaging is seen as sort of a regular company. So if they could get it, then I can get it. And we had, I think, a blip of 14 companies that came in just on Saturday, and we talked to all of them into Sunday. So that's where we are right now in the business outreach response. This slide. Any questions on that?
No.
Vince, is there a tape of that on the website at all?
Of the webinar, yes.
Yes.
There is, so people can, other businesses can watch it at their leisure.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Good, excellent. I just have something to say. I think it was Paul Ruskevich from the legislature and myself. We listened in last week on the webinar, and I thought it was excellent. I praised you at the meeting at the legislature last week, and I've also forwarded to you and Lori a couple businesses that were interested as well, and you've reached out to them. So I can't praise you two and your staff enough for what you've done in this regard to help small businesses and all.
Thank you. And yeah, and Steve has been getting the word out. We've been getting those calls where he's been passing us the number, and several of you have done the same. It's good. It's good to get the word out. So let's go to the next slide, which is the accelerated companies manufacturing PPE devices. So this is part of our COVID response also. And a lot of help here from, again, several of the board members, Mary Ellen especially, on connecting us to hospitals for the face shields. So what we've been able to do here is these are accelerator or accelerated without walls companies that have contacted us at the very beginning of this saying, hey, we would like help to get out and put some of these products out there. There was some false starts. For example, and you'll see it says, I'm starting from the bottom, testing pending. We actually have the ability, Warwick Laboratory, our cannabis testing laboratory, to test the COVID for the COVID virus. We did offer that up. And actually, Steve was a great help in trying to get us to all the right people. For the moment, that had been put on the side, but I have to tell you that yesterday, we were contacted by the governor's office, and there's a lot more interest. The bottom line is everybody's going to be tested at some point. So capacity is still going to be an issue. So we may revisit this again, but we're ready to go if that's something people want us to do. EMS is is the mother company of the lab we have in Warwick, and we would do this testing over there in Warwick should we decide to do it later. But we went through the whole process of understanding how to do it and can we do it, and we put a plan in place. We were ahead of our time, I think. Let's start with face shields. So face shields, there's a picture of them there. I'm surprised how many face shields are needed in the world. When we started this, it was based on Mary Ellen's identification that St. Luke's Hospital was looking for some face shields and other PPE devices. We had a good relationship now with St. Luke's, with their procurement executive. He then connected us to another Montefiore hospital. We actually did two things here. One is Mello, who is one of our accelerator companies. We actually did 5 prototypes involving the doctors at both hospitals to see if we could make a face shield that they would want. In other words, is there anything unique? And the thing that was unique about it was they really wanted the face shield to be able to be lifted up. And so we put some grommets in there and we're able to do that. It doesn't mean other people don't have face shields that can lift up. There are some. The second thing they wanted was they wanted no felt or Velcro materials on the face shield, because that is a place that germs can gather, bacteria could gather. And so we made this so it doesn't have any of those. That makes that a unique and much more expensive face shield. So it sells for about $3.50. The Orange Packaging, our other partner at Accelerated Without Walls, is making a less expensive version for about $1.60. And those are used by your local medical facilities, doctors' offices, etc. So people have a choice. Orange Packaging is selling tens of thousands of these, and Mello has sold so far about 10,000 of the face shields of the sort of a different value. So, and the other interesting thing, Dairy Queen contacted Mello yesterday, and they are trying the Mello face shields in one of their stores right now. And today they have a board meeting, Dairy Queen does, and they're going to decide if they want all of their employees to wear face shields. and they've already asked Mello if they would make these available to all Dairy Queen stores. So listen, it's a good thing to get the face shields out there. We want to protect our healthcare workers. If it also leads later to some local supply chains that we can do for our hospitals, for the medical community, and even create new product lines that will sustain our companies going forward, all of these things line up really nicely. I do want to also say it was nearly impossible to get the plastic to make these face shields. They're totally constrained in the country. Orange Packaging, at our request, and as you guys may remember from our Accelerated Without Walls program, we had made a automatic balloon blower upper, if you remember, for them once. Anyway, Orange Packaging, it turns out, had a bunch of plastic in stock that they were using for their own face shields, and I asked them for their source. They were happy to give their source, but of course that source couldn't fulfill our demands. So Orange Packaging gave us 500 pounds, not gave us, but took 500 pounds out of their stock. We bought it as the IDA. You guys agreed to that so that we could get product out into the field to the hospitals as quickly as possible. So Orange Packaging could not ship all of their own face shields. They gave that up and were late on their delivery so that we could enable Mello to make stuff for the whole local hospitals. That is a great story, and very rare do I see things like that. It shows the power of how this accelerator pulls things together. Then we have a sanitization for materials and facilities product. So we actually have, you may have read, the president showed a sanitization machine for face masks, for N95 face masks. Columbia University, Dr. David Brennan and Dr. Marco Padone, who's in our laboratory, those guys both teach at Columbia. And it's well known that ultraviolet light in certain spectrums kills viruses, bacteria, germs, etc. People are trying to tune it up to see what the exact light frequency and under what conditions, like we put ozone in a tent and we use these lights, etc., that you can use then to fight the virus at its source on hard surfaces. That's not proven yet, but the New York State Department of Health is working with us to qualify that, but no matter. We have one of those sanitization systems. Why wait? We put it into service, and every face shield that comes out of Mello before it goes to the hospital also gets that sanitization of the ultraviolet light. Better safe than sorry. For face masks, these are not the N95, but these are the ones that apparently everybody in America is going to be wearing soon, are being made by FPS Apparel. You can buy them at 500, quantities of 500, 1,000. FPS Apparel is an Accelerated Without Walls company that moved to Chester. And they also have taken the liberty to make some very pretty face masks. So if you like a designer face mask, FPS is the place you want to go to get it. They also make a face mask with a little pocket in it. So for people who may want to add their own filter material or cotton balls or something else, it gives you an added sense of confidence that you can do. Adabots, which is the company that we have in the Middletown Accelerator, that was part of Fred Flitch and his son, Robert Flitch, and they make that robot that paves automatically, 3D printing robot. We could not have designed any of these face shields without them. Adabots volunteered their time. Well, we paid them for their time, so let me say, but they volunteered the first prototype. We had to make 5 more, because the hospitals wanted so many different things. But they actually did all the CAD design work and then did some 3D models for us, which we were able to turn into production volumes later. I should also mention that both Mello and Orange Packaging are now getting orders all over the country for both their models of face shields. And I just got off the phone just before this call started with the 2 companies in Florida who are desperate to get stuff to their hospitals. So we're creating business at the same time as we're doing some good. I think that's all I want to say about PPE devices at the moment. Lori, did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so. Are you going to talk a little bit about our website?
Oh, yes. So I should mention also, thanks to Dean Brady, we have on our website, we have our COVID response button. And on there is just about everything we talked about, certainly our business outreach, the ability for people to reach us via email, any news or information that we want to share. And so we're open. We're being 100% open to all of our companies any way we can. Okay, and the last chart, WellTech. So I just want to say that, you know, obviously our time and attention is focused on the COVID response, but we have a number of accelerator companies that, through, of course, no fault of their own, have had to shutter their businesses until we get to the other side of this. So we're using that time also to do some business development. And we held a meeting on April 2nd with a distributor in Nevada called WellTech Distributors. And that's a distributor of personal care products, which we have a lot of companies doing that, and other healthy living products. And so Farm Body and Goats and a Coat, Asterism, Hemp Farms of New York, Birds Creation, Mellow, and EMS, all were able to present an hour each the kinds of products they have and how it might fit into the menu of things that WellTech distributors would then distribute. Since then, and this is only April 2nd, I believe, since then, Hemp Farms of New York, which has, you know, is the old hydroponic farm that is now a CBD factory, and Farm Body and Mellow have all received, are all deep into the next level of negotiation with the company. And in fact, our face shields for Mellow are already being presented by WellTech to their medical facilities. They do most of their distribution in the West. So that's maybe a good new market for everyone. So we're not sitting still, trying to give people hope on the other end. Again, all of these companies are also putting skin in the game, which is the number one thing we look for, whether it's PPE devices, you loan somebody plastic materials, you go on this call with WellTech, and you pitch yourself and the other companies. And if you put skin in the game, we think on the other end of this, everybody's going to come out okay. Lori?
I don't have anything to add to that.
Okay. Any other questions?
I will say one thing, Melanie, can you put up that media page?
Yeah.
So while Melanie pulls this up, one of the things that we've done, and on that website, again, thanks to Dean, who's done this really incredible job of making a landing page on our website, we have a place for press releases. We've been putting out press releases like crazy. We've had a number of people who have actually, picked up stories, so like Melanie's showing right there, this is just a kind of a screen grab of a number of the items that were picked up. A lot of Mid-Hudson News, of course, but even Buffalo News, Oneida, The Record, naturally, but Yahoo Finance picked up one, the Daily Freeman, Saratoga. So all over the state, it's been, and in some cases, even the country, have given some attention to what the IDA has been doing in the last few weeks. One of the nice things about having this COVID page is, in addition to press releases, which are not just for the press, they're also sort of, resources for the business community. They're accessible there. The webinars will all be accessible there. And then we also have a page for job listings, because the companies that we work with, as they're finding, some of them are ratcheting up in terms of what they need from employers, or employees rather. So we want to be a resource as well for employees and employers to match up. So we'll have a place where we can have various job postings if anyone's interested in posting them with us. So we really want to be kind of a one-stop shop for the recovery process. And it's been, I think, very successful in bringing some great attention to the things that the accelerator does for businesses, because this is kind of what the accelerator does even outside of a crisis. It's just on steroids right now, but it's really nice. And I think it's over 30 million people have been reached by some of the most recent press releases.
Yeah, and I just want to thank the board. Every one of you, one way or another, has been involved in helping us move the ball forward on any of these PPE devices. And I really mean that. I appreciate that. And that's why we're trying to put the press out there. Mm-hmm. You guys have really been leaders in this field, so we appreciate it. That ends my report.
Okay. So anybody else have any questions or comments? I would just say good job, you guys. So
Great
the next,
job.
Yeah, absolutely. The committee reports. So the audit committee and the governance committee met today. So we'll start with the audit committee.
Jim, do you want to talk about that, or would you like me to?
Well, I guess the only question I ask you is, are we bringing up those two issues, or are those we're dealing with? Yes, we are. Okay. So we did have a pretty decent audit committee meeting. Of course, everyone got on a lot quicker. I don't know, some of these guys slacking a little bit today on the Zoom call. But anyway, we had an update on Craftify, which was just more of a project status. And Laura, you just go over what we came up with on, because
for the both.
Vinny basically fried the rest of my brain cells on his report that he gave. So I'm just trying to regroup. We talked about Craftify and Satin Fine Foods, and both have we have had to deal with some issues past meetings, and the committee, the audit committee had talked about those couple issues. And basically what it came down to is because of where we are in the economic condition we are in the state of New York, especially County of Orange, and we had to make some changes.
Yes. So that being said, one of the things that Craftify came to us for was to extend their sales tax agreement. There had been a number of discussions with Craftify about, the status of their project, the status of their labor policy. But again, because of the conditions that we're currently living under, the audit committee is recommending that the IDA extend their sales tax exemption through the end of 2020 to allow them to complete their project and then move forward with their pilot as planned, to allow them to, continue to try to succeed versus in this time.
And just so the board knows, they've gone through about half of it, and so as they continue through their project, everything's kind of slowed down now, so it really is a time game now.
Correct. And then so we'll need a vote on that. Do you want to, Kevin, should we do that first before we move on to the next?
Sure, that's fine. And then Russ, can you prepare the resolution?
So what is the resolution? We're going to extend their
Extend the STE, yeah.
Extend it.
Yeah, just extend the sales tax through 2020.
Okay.
That's Craftify, right?
Correct.
That's Craftify, correct.
Yeah, we'll get you a resolution in the underlying docs.
Okay. So the second portion of the main discussion for the audit committee was Satin Fine Foods, and the audit committee had dealt with this. There was a situation about some correspondence being misplaced and etc. But the bottom line is what the IDA committee did was we removed a year of pilot from their project. And so after heavy conversation and weighing through basically the overall situation, again, because of the economic situation we're in, the audit committee felt the need to basically rescind that reduction of the last year pilot.
Correct. So we would need two votes, right? So one to rescind the former action. So we took action in March of last year to rescind the final year of Satin Fine Foods pilot. So we would take a vote this time to approve rescinding that action, and then also a separate one to extend Craftify's pilot. So Kevin, would you like to take us through both of those?
Sure. So,
well, hang on a second.
Sure.
So you're saying for Satin Fine Foods, we're just going to forget the fact that they didn't comply with the reporting requirements and everything else?
Well, no. The answer, the short answer to that question is no. But there are several underlying circumstances that we addressed in audit committee, and we did go into executive session to discuss some of those underlying issues. And when we came out of executive session, we just felt the best way to move forward with that particular part is to rescind the removal of the last year pilot.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jim. Okay, go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, so the first,
wait,
the first
does that-
resolution would be on Craftify. And that resolution would be to extend the sales tax exemption to the December 31st, 2020.
So we need a motion to do that?
Sure.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, you want to,
Do a roll call? Sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Diana?
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mr. Brescia?
Yes.
Mr. Gatos?
Yes.
Mr. McCary?
John, you're on mute again.
Don't be making faces, Jimmy.
I'm sorry. My hair is so long. All these grays are coming in. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
mine too.
I
We're
know.
in the middle of a vote. We're in the middle of a
We
vote.
have
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
McCary.
John, you there?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Mr. Schreibeis?
Yes.
And Chairwoman Rogalski?
Yes,
That's 7 ayes. The resolution has passed.
okay, thank you. All right, is
The
that it
second
for the audit?
resolution would be to rescind the previous resolution on Satin Fine Foods and to reinstate the final year of the pilot, or at least to cancel the termination of the last year of the pilot.
Okay, did anybody have any questions about that or comments? Okay,
No.
hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve what you said.
Ditto.
Okay, so I need a motion.
So moved.
Motion, Steve, thank you. Okay,
Motion.
Second.
okay,
Mr.
thank you.
Diana?
We're voting now, Ed.
Yes. Okay, yes.
Mr. DeSalvo?
Yeah.
Mr. Brescia?
Yes.
Mr. Gatos?
Yes.
Mr. McCary?
Yes.
Mr. Schreibeis?
Yes.
Chairwoman Rogalski?
Yes,
That's 7 ayes, Madam Chairwoman. The resolution's adopted.
all right, thank you. Is that, do you have anything else, Jim?
No, that was pretty much it. We had talked about the IBM portion, which we already kind of handled. And we did have a discussion of the 2020 audit, which we also have kind of handled. So,
Okay, good. All right, so then the governance committee report?
There's not, the only thing we had discussed today, Mary Ellen, was going over our objectives in our mission statement. And after reading that over, the committee wants to send that forward to the full board.
Okay,
That's for the job creation and retention goals for 2019. We're kind of adopting it retrospectively, retroactively here.
okay. All right, so you have to do that next month then, Lori?
No, this month.
Oh,
Do it.
okay.
We can do it now.
It was,
Oh, so forward means we already have it.
sorry, yeah, we
You have it.
but
Okay, so the governance committee is recommending that we approve it as presented then.
correct.
Okay,
Lori, Lori, and just real quick, that's the one we changed the numbers.
No, that would be for 2020. We're changing them.
120, got it. Okay.
Yeah, not for
I just-
19.
Yeah, I wanted to mention but both Eddie and Rob had brought that suggestion up for 2020. I know we're not voting on that, but it's part of it to change the retention, which just because of the environment was 2 good suggestions. I just wanted to highlight it.
mhm.
You want me to expand on that a little bit? So for 2019, we had 250. I'm sorry, I can't pull up the numbers right now, but for the 2019, bear with me a second. I just exited it.
Retain 100 and create 250.
Right.
Right.
So for 2020, based on what we are, facing, we're going to shift our focus to retention of jobs for 2020. We've already been doing that here in the last month or two, but so we would focus on retaining 200 and creating 150. So kind of flipping that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. All right, if there's no other questions, then you need a motion to approve this, correct?
Correct.
So there's no further comment or discussion. I'll entertain a motion to approve the
2019.
So moved.
2019,
Second.
whatever.
I can't.
All right, thank you. All those, do you need to, can we just say aye?
Do a voice vote.
Okay. All right, all those in favor, please say
Aye.
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 Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, you're approved. Okay, so what do we have left to do here? Oh, okay, applications and resolutions.
Yeah,
First
can
one on the
you
list.
do Luke's Cornwall first, because we have a very patient gentleman on the phone from St. Luke's who's been
Sure.
through this whole meeting.
Yes, whose time is very valuable. I know that.
So we were contacted. They're doing some restructuring of some debt. So I would turn it over, Tom, to you and whoever from your team you would like to speak about it. Just to give a very quick overview of what it is that's being done, and then Russ and Kevin can talk about what our action is.
Sure. Thanks, everyone. So what we are planning on doing is refinancing all of our outstanding bonds, which include the 2001A and 2000B bonds and the 2006 bonds, all that went through the Orange County IDA. And I believe that Russ, I think you're on the phone, had prepared a resolution. And what we're looking for a vote on effectively is basically the IDA approving the execution and delivery of any and all termination, satisfaction, or discharge documents in connection with the refinance. The game plan and the goal is to attempt to refinance these by April 30th. Although they're with the 2001 bonds, because they are public bonds, I think they're subject to a 30-day redemption period subsequent to that. I'll stop there. Kevin Downs, who's our outside attorney, helping us with this. Kevin, anything you want to add?
Marty, I believe Kevin's still muted. Hold on one second, everyone.
Kevin who?
Downs. Kevin Downs.
Yeah. Not Kevin Dowd, Kevin Downs.
Yes, hi, this is Kevin Downs from Dead at Law, representing St. Luke's. And Tom mentioned that the 2001A and B bonds are publicly held. The 2006 are held by KeyBank. The 2001 bonds are insured by Assured Guarantee. And we've been working with all the parties, Assured Guarantee, and the trustee and KeyBank on the 2006 bonds to work toward this goal.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions or comments? All right, thanks for hanging in, gentlemen. So I'll entertain a motion to, well, you make the resolution first. I'm sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
Kevin, Mike, our Kevin, IDA Kevin, I'm going to abstain from this, if that's okay.
Sure. Resolution, we'll get to the vote. Resolution of the Orange County Industrial Development Agency authorizing termination of the agency's bonds and related documents in connection with the agency's Series 2001A, Series 2001B, and Series 2006 bond issuance issued for the benefit of St. Luke's.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Diana.
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo.
Abstain.
Mr. Brescia.
Yes.
Mr. Gatos. Mr. McCary.
Yes.
Mr. Schreibeis.
Yes.
Mr. Gatos?
Yes. Yes, I'm back now. Yes.
Okay. Chairwoman Rogalski.
Yes.
That's 6 ayes and 1 abstention. The resolution is adopted.
Okay, great. Thanks for hanging, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much.
You appreciate it.
And thank you for all you guys are doing for the area, all the area hospitals. Thank you guys, all your workers, nurses, doctors, etc.
Got it. I'll pass that on. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Okay.
All right, so then next up is CRH Realty, which is also known as Crystal Run.
Correct. So this one it's pretty simple. Again, it was in everybody's packet. The Crystal Run Realty is doing a little bit of a sale of their property, a transition of ownership. So there's a conveyance, and the resolution is reflecting that. Basically, we have to consent because we are in that chain of custody. Unless I'm wrong, Russ, you and Kevin can correct me if I'm speaking out of turn.
No, that sounds right to me.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. All right, so it's a formality for them to be able to do what they need to do. So, anybody have any questions or comments?
There's no one from St. Crystal Run there, is there?
No, I didn't, no.
No.
We've done-
What are they doing? What are they doing exactly?
It is for their, hold on, let me get to that packet thing.
I saw it there. I just,
Yeah, I think they're doing a restructuring too, Jim.
An assignment and assumption.
Yeah.
okay. I'm just,
Or
you know.
they're selling the Moreau property to Hames Partners 3 LLP, basically, and they're just gonna, and it's subject to a lease back, so the IDA has to consent.
Okay.
There's no, by the way, just for clarity's sake, there is no mortgage tax exemption. There's no incentive as a part of this vote.
Yeah, I'm just, I always, some of these companies, you know, could be a potential relationship. So that's, I asked just so I make sure I'm not voting on something I shouldn't be.
Understood.
Okay. Shall I read the resolution?
Yes, please.
Okay, authorizing resolution. Resolution authorizing the Orange County Industrial Development Agency to execute all necessary documents in connection with the conveyance of the project and the project documents to Hamas, I said it right, Partners 3 LP, and consent to the sublease of the facility by Hamas Partners 3 LP to Crystal Run Healthcare Physicians LLP pursuant to section 6.3A of the lease back agreement.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Diana,
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo,
Yep.
was that a yes?
Yes, sir. Sorry. Yes. Yes.
Mr. Gresham,
Yes.
Mr. Gatos,
Yes.
Mr. McCary,
Yes.
Mr. Schreibeis,
Yes.
and Chairwoman Rugolsky.
Yes.
That's 7 ayes. Resolution adopted, madam.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, is there, we have on the agenda executive session. Do we need to do that?
We don't need that anymore.
No. Okay, good. All right. Is there any other board business?
No.
All right. Hearing none, I just want to, again, say thank you very much to the staff for their innovation and their dedication. I know it's not easy being out there, and it is definitely firmly appreciated by all of us. So,
Mary Ellen,
sure.
Chairwoman, I thought there was going to be discussion about the funding corp
Yep.
loans.
Funding court meeting.
We have to do it in the funding corp meeting. Steve.
Under the funding corp.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So if there's no other board business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. I need a second. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. So we're officially adjourned.